Hello there folks, I'm back again with another speed paint for you guys, and this week I've got something really special. Today I'll be drawing fan art for my favorite analog horror series. Now, I'm a real web horror enjoyer. I really love ARGs and creepypasta and all that fun stuff, so obviously I'm in kinda deep on the analog horror stuff. Even some of the more, so-called mid-entries, I just find the vibes very fun and enjoyable, so I still like to take a look at them, even if they're not, extremely popular. And my favorite of the genre isn't really, one of those big standout hits, even though I love those too. Obviously I'm a huge fan of things like the Monument Mythos and Angel Hair and the Mandela Catalog. I mean, I could probably name drop several more, but that's all I can remember at this exact moment. No, my favorite is actually a slightly more obscure series. Although I don't know if I would call it unpopular, it's just that it's not, huge, right? It's not the hugest analog horror series, and who can blame them, right? I mean, this space is pretty saturated, there's a lot of stuff, and it's pretty easy for really good entries to kind of fly under the radar. The one I will be talking about today, my personal favorite, is White Stag Education. And let me just say right now, I'm probably going to spoil, everything about it. If you haven't seen it already, please go watch it. It is awesome. It's about, the Pine Barrens in New Jersey, and it's just an incredible, excellent analog horror entry. Please go watch that before you come here, because I'm about to spoil everything. So I'll give you, a couple seconds to go hit pause, go watch it right now. It's really good. Okay. Are you back? Did you have fun? Did you have fun watching it? Alright, well, then let's get into the speed paint. Now, I am sure it is no surprise to really anyone who knows me in person that I am doing art for this, and that this is my favorite analog horror. As a New Jersey native, more specifically, someone from the Jersey Shore Pine Barrens type area, watching this video series, really made me feel nostalgic, especially for my time in high school. Me and my friends loved going out into the woods and exploring, going to the park, going to go see wildlife and stuff, so seeing all these, beautiful vistas of just what the Pine Barrens are genuinely like, all those god-dang dead leaves on the ground, all those beautiful trees, those water that we have, the just very flat landscape we get in southern New Jersey, everything about it is just so specific to our area, and it felt very magical for me as someone who is from the area. I mean, even just watching the first video and seeing that, Ocean County Center for Recreation logo pop up, oh my god. That really added to the authenticity for me. I think White Stag could have easily gotten away with just, making up some stuff and, making up organizations, which, I mean, they kind of have. I mean, I assume White Stag Education isn't an organization in real life. But, the fact that they have, these touches of, actual genuine stuff that exists in real life in the area that they are making the series about, I just think that's really cool. It kind of reminds me of some of the approaches we see in more popular series like Greylock. And while I'm not from the Massachusetts area in Greylock where they feature it, it's kind of hard for me to fully appreciate how good those references are. Whereas I am native to the area in White Stag Education, so I fully buy into the full nostalgia of not just, the analog media, but also the things featured within it. The environments, the design, the logos, for God's sake. Oh my god. It's just an incredible series. If you did not watch the series, I recommend you go do that. I already put a pause in for you to go do. But if you didn't, I'll try to explain kind of the gist of what's going on, or if it's just been a while and you don't really remember. Because a lot of what seems to be the overarching narrative informed a lot of what this illustration is all about. First and foremost, we have our main character here, who is a park ranger. I kind of wanted to make it ambiguous as to which character it could be. I was kind of leaning somewhere between obviously the main three rangers are Ranger Dan, Ranger Luke, Ranger Craig. And I kind of want to lean towards Ranger Craig because we know he's alive in the latest video, and Ranger Luke, things didn't go so well for him. But I wanted it to be ambiguous, it's definitely someone wearing the uniform, but it could really be anyone who's wearing it here. And then the big creature in the background, if you don't remember or didn't watch the video, that would be the adversary. which seems to be the main antagonist of the story. An obvious stand-in for the Jersey Devil, where instead of just being like that small deer with the wings that we often see it depicted as, it seems to be a huge worm-like beast that rides beneath the Pine Barrens itself. And I just think that's so cool. Like, what a cool cosmic horror angle. And speaking of cosmic horror angle, like, oh my god, the freaking prophecy about the asteroid that's going to be coming to Earth and landing in Barnegat. And might I just say, the fact that Barnegat was mentioned at all felt crazy. The fact that I've seen videos of people mispronouncing Barnegat because that town was featured in this series, God, it hits different as someone who grew up by the Jersey Shore is all I'm saying. But yeah, I really wanted to feature both the adversary and the meteor as part of this concept illustration because I think they're just such cool, like, huge cosmic threats, which is such a fun, like, dichotomy to have in the story that, to me, is really about the small area that it takes place in. This isn't, like, a huge story. Like, a lot of analog horror tends to get kind of larger in scale, but, I mean, I guess this piece is only about 5 videos long, so who's to say where it'll go in the future? But for now, pretty much everything about it takes place pretty much just in Ocean County, New Jersey. So it's a very small area that these characters are participating in that is, like, the focus of the story. And yet the things that are threatening it are so large that it makes the horror of them feel even more imposing. And I just think that is just an awesome thing. Like, I've seen very small-scale villains, I've seen small-scale towns, and I've seen large-scale villains and large-scale stories, but I haven't seen this combination yet of a very large-scale threat against a very small area. And I just think that's really cool. And this story is just absolutely incredible. I love the way, like, all of the shots are. A lot of the framing, the angles, the way they film this entire web series actually reminds me a lot of some pieces me and my friends worked on when we were in high school. My friend Lexi, she still does film nowadays, but in high school especially, we did a lot of filming for short films she would do for class, and a lot of that would be, and I suspect, the same places that they shot some of these videos for White Stag Education. So getting to see another person tackle, like, the horror genre in the Pine Barrens, it's just so cool to see as someone who also did something like that. I actually, my friend Lexi, in one of her short films, I was, like, the main villain, I guess, in a thing where I was playing a witch who is implied to have killed her friends in the woods, but it's a little ambiguous. Who knows what really happened? But I remember, like, helping her work on that film and, like, shooting footage in the woods as it was getting dark, and just watching White Stag Education really put me back in that mood of, like, making art in the woods in New Jersey. And I just find that so lovely. Like, it's so near and dear to my heart and my past specifically. And I just think that's so cool. Like, I love horror that can really toe the line between creepy and comfy. I think that's part of why I love analog horror so much. Like, I hardly find it scary most of the time. Even though I love horror media, I am very difficult to scare. So I mostly just like things for, like, the vibes. And boy howdy, do I just adore the vibes of White Stag Education. For this piece, I really wanted to do something very, like, dramatic, almost, like, Baroque in sort of the drama of the presentation of it. I wanted to have that huge dramatic meteor. I wanted to have just that small ranger standing in this huge landscape. And I really wanted this landscape to be inspired by, like, my own experiences, you know, in the Pine Barrens. In high school, I used to be part of, like, this environmental science magnet school, and we went out in the field a lot. And I took lots of beautiful pictures of, like, the Pine Barrens at different times of year in, like, different environments, and just sort of the way that the cedar and the pines reflect on the water on our very flat landscape because we have, like, no hills. And the way that the dead, dry grass sits in autumn, like, there's something very specific about it. And I don't know, I feel like to me, that's what New Jersey is about the Pine Barrens. So I really wanted to capture that feeling in the landscape, capture some feelings from, like, my hometown, from Adventures to My Mom's hometown, like, a whole bunch of different places in New Jersey, to sort of really settle in, like, here is a flat landscape, here is a dense forest, here is a nice lake or stream, and here is some crappy dead grass that happens to be all in the middle of it. And to put this very small human character against like this enormous landscape, this enormous adversary, and that very daunting meteor, I just really had a clear image in mind for what the composition for this was going to be. And I really wanted it to emphasize like the drama of it all, which I think is kind of fun because I think there's very little visual drama, at least in the series so far, in White Stag Education. Like, the most dramatic visual thing I can think of right now is in the latest video, at least at the time of recording, where Ranger Craig, like, shoots the stranger in the woods. But even that, like, you don't really see that on screen. You just kind of see some of the scene. A lot of this is, like, implied and not shown, which I always love in horror media, too. Like, I love, like, the nasty stuff, sure, but I find horror way more interesting if it, like, leaves a lot to the imagination and like, plays with the abstractions of like all the ideas that it's getting at. I just find that really cool and way more interesting. Whereas I find like explicit gore it doesn't even creep me out. I just find it kind of gross, and not like in a horror way, just like in a John Mulaney like, gross, mop it up kind of tone. That's how I feel about it anyway. I know a lot of people are really into it. Like my friend Gabriel, he's a huge fan of like the Terrifier series and stuff, but I can see, like, why people enjoy those movies. They're just not for me, and it's just because I don't find gore or, like, on-screen violence very interesting. But I love, like, the idea of, like, narrative violence, if that makes sense. And White Stag, at least so far, is, like, full of that. We know Luke is killed by something in the basement in episode 2. We, like, know that that meteorite is coming. We know that the adversary is there, but it's never really shown to us. It's just like rumbling beneath the feet of everyone living there, and I just love like the idea that it's rumbling in the background and bubbling up over time. I love that so much. It's so cool. It truly reminds me so much of like the sort of folklore and folk tales people would tell in this area, the sort of way we would talk about things in the woods, whether we were joking or earnestly talking about something that was scary that we had heard about. I don't know, there's just something so folkloric in New Jersey about it. And might I just say, it's an extremely refreshing take on the Jersey Devil. I am a Mothman guy. You can see by my everything that I am. And the Mothman is my favorite cryptid. Even though I'm a New Jersey native, I am not really huge on most depictions of the Jersey Devil. For one thing, I just don't particularly care for the original illustration of it. I think it's kind of boring. I'm sorry. I know it's a really cool creature, but like to me it doesn't really resonate as hard as some other cryptids. But I really like the approach here in White Stag. The idea that like that it is a devil in its name and the position it holds over the humanity that's there. It is not like a literal like just creature that looks like a demon. Like I love that. And I love this sort of ambiguity between like, is the adversary from space? Is it from a space from a long time ago? Or is it like something from the Earth that is coming up because it knows the meteorite is coming? Like, I love that we aren't really sure. Is it from above or below? And I just think that's such a cool question to have for this story. There are genuinely so many, like, cool details. What an interesting approach. The fact that you don't even need to know about the legend of the Jersey Devil for this story to still make sense and hit, I think is really cool. Like, it stands alone from that legend, but the legend of the Jersey Devil itself adds to the story. It's, like, not mandatory reading, but it is still complimentary. And I just think that's, like, really awesome. I've never been huge on, like, the Puritan child aspect of it. I've never been huge on humanoid depictions of the Jersey Devil. Don't get me wrong, X-Files. I love you. You're an amazing show. I'm not huge on your depiction of the Jersey Devil as just some woman, though. I thought that was kind of a boring approach to this creature. And I just love the adversary. I think this thing is so cool. I love the strangers. I think the strangers are awesome. And honestly, one of my favorite parts about White Stag Education is the music. I feel like no one comes out of there not humming to themselves Stranger Danger. That song goes incredibly hard. They popped off. It's genuinely a very catchy tune. It's very ominous, but like I'll still hum it to myself because it's a lovely little song. I completely adore the main like stranger theme. The We All Sing in Chorus, the Song of the Forest song that the strangers whistle. Oh my god, I love that song. And I love going out into the Pine Barrens and whistling it sometimes and seeing if anyone notices because, like, I don't know, maybe. I don't know if the series is big enough that I'll have encountered anyone who knows the song while I'm in the woods whistling it, but if you heard it, it wasn't a stranger, it was just me. It's a good catchy tune, it's fun to whistle, and it's really good for freaking people out. So I just think it's a lot of fun. Truly, everything about White Stag Education is just, it feels like it was made for me. It very much appeals specifically to like my interests, my history, like where I'm from, and the things I appreciate in horror. And it's also so like different from everything else that I'm aware of in the space right now. And I just think it's so cool. It's just a really cool story. It's got pretty much everything I am looking for. I love that we have actual like main characters, and yet we don't really know what they're doing. Like, we just kind of know that Luke has to die, and that's really all we got. Like, I'm just so curious to see where they take it. There hasn't been a new episode in over a year, which makes me kind of bummed out because I really would like to see another part, but please, After 10 Productions, take your goddamn time. I will wait very patiently for another episode. I love this thing. I want to see it succeed so bad because it is so cool. I just want nothing but success for you guys because this project is awesome. It fills my heart with joy, and I just think it's awesome and deserves more attention because it is a really cool project, and I think they deserve the world for it. Well, anyway, yeah, that's why I had to draw about it. I've been meaning to draw fan art for White Stag since honestly over a year ago at this point, but I kind of kept making like stranger fan art that kind of was muddy and hard to read, and I wasn't very pleased with it, so I decided to actually sit down and thumbnail something. I decided to actually sit down and try to draw my interpretation of the adversary. I wanted to draw the Rangers. I wanted to draw the meteorite. I really wanted to get like the entire like melodrama of the whole fantastical story going on. All the things you probably won't see on screen during the actual series, basically, I decided I would include here in this tribute because I thought it would be fun. I thought it'd be fun. They're obviously, After 10 Productions, the people behind this project. Like, they're the ones who are good at telling the story with film. I'm just here to kind of gush about this story through me blabbing about it for a while, and by doing a single nice illustration for them. I love White Stag. Again, if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. Please go subscribe to their channel. It is so cool. I just love this project. I want to see it succeed. I want to see it pop off. And I just think it's just an awesome project. I just think it's a great story, and it's so cool. Please go show them some love. And with that, that is all I've got for you guys today. Just one drawing, but I had a lot to yap about. I love this series, if you couldn't tell already. I would love to hear what your own favorite web horror series are in the comments below. I adore recommendations. Please give me more things to watch or look at or read or whatever. I would love to hear about them. I'm always looking for more. If you watched White Stag Education after watching this video, let me know what you think. It's a very lovely series, and I really hope more people watch it because it really deserves all the praise. It is so cool. If you would like to support me, I recommend checking out my Ko-fi page. It's the best way you can financially support me. You can help me feed my pet, take care of other expenses, buy groceries and things like that. Any support is hugely appreciated. I also have monthly memberships, so I can try to make more of a consistent income. My work at my part-time job is a little inconsistent this time of year because we're not very busy, so any support from my art would be extremely appreciated and make my life a whole lot easier. So thank you so much. And of course, like I said, go follow White Stag Education. Go follow After 10 Productions on Instagram. Follow them everywhere. I don't know what else other social pages they have at the time of recording, but I'll try to link them below so you can go show them some support because I don't want to like just profit from their success. I want them to like see the benefits of this awesome project that they made. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about a project I really like. I might do more videos like this in the future of other projects I really enjoy and want to talk about. I'll try to like find ones that aren't like super duper popular because I would love to like bring attention to some of these other projects. Even though I kind of have a small audience myself, I still think it's worth introducing people to new things, even if I have very few people to do that introducing to. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll be back again next week with another speed paint. And in the meantime, why don't you guys go out there and make some art?